Make sure we're going on here. Boink. Channel. All right. Captain Caveman. Y'all know that's, remember Captain Caveman? Captain Caveman. Hold on just a sec. Come on, man. Where's this thing here? Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second. Go to, hey, Nancy. Remember Captain Caveman? Captain Caveman. Rob, right on. All right. For some reason, I'm not able to find this, but all right, there we go. All right, sweet. Let's see how many people get notified. I didn't send any emails out or anything like that today. I got my merch, which is pretty cool, but I got, before I start, Dustin, right on, man. Haven't seen you around lately. What's going on in the Marine Corps, brother? I've been getting my my merch in, which is kind of cool. So I've been sharing that. Here's, oh, wait 1 second. I got to make sure I can blink. Here's one shirt, Heritage Wealth Planning. I can't remember if this is a medium or a, I got like, looks like my face is kind of red there. If this is medium, I forgot, but it's too tight. I don't like too tight shirts, but I also got an extra large, which is too big. So you definitely, if you're 5'9", about 190, you probably want to get a large for sure. Just FYI, if you're going to get a shirt, if you're over 5'9", you probably next large would be fine for sure. But hey, what's going on, Jill? Brian, K Paso, Renee, right on, man. Vic, right on. Do we still hold on to Amazon? Man, I have no idea. No idea. Bought the 1984 mask. Take that, freaking Motorhead, huh? You watch my man, the Rageaholic, Razor. I just came across him not too long ago. Love that guy. He's a big Motorhead fan. Motorhead never did much for me. Ellie. Motorhead never did much for me, man. But excuse me. I've only listened to one of the albums, but the Ace of Spades, it was okay. I could probably go back and listen to it again, just like I re-listened to the Ramones for the first time in a long time after watching the Rageaholic, and I said, man, the Ramones are pretty good. They never did much for me back in the day. Motorhead never did much for me back in the day, but I could go through and re-listen. Kind of like when I re-listened to Ronnie James Dio on Black Sabbath. I said, yeah, this is a pretty good album. This is pretty good. It's pretty good listening. So, as I get older, maybe I go back to some of my old stuff and revisit my my taste. Mark, yeah, I agree. Pulverizer talks about take some profits. I actually think that's not a bad thing. The issue, of course, that comes down to you always want to ride your winners and cut your losses. So if I've been busy planting stuff out in the garden, man. The pool is up and running. It's freaking awesome, up and running. And for you all being here on YouTube, has helped me pay for it. No other way around it. Much obliged. Hey, Dick. All right. Dick, the forever challenger of the 4% rule is on here. All right, we're going to talk about that for sure. But anyway, so I appreciate, because YouTube does pay me by you all watching my ass. She thinks my retirement plan is sexy. Make a country song out of that. But I don't get huge amounts of YouTube, but it's enough to pay my mortgage, which means I can use other things to pay other bills and stuff. And we've been saving up to put this pool into my M1 Finance account, just saving, and it's nice. And I know a lot of people say, what's going on, Wade? Dan, right on. I know a lot of people, ARs are fun. Say you're not gonna get the money back for your pool. It's not about a return on investment, man. It's just not. It's the return on life. It's actually kind of funny. I was talking to a right on, man. Maybe Interesting. I was talking about what was it? Oh, return on life. So I was talking to a guy down the street who got a quote for was trying to get a quote for for a pool for his own house, and he called the same company that I use, and he said it's a month out just to get a quote, just to get a quote, man. A month out just to get a quote. And I was like, and I was crazy because all these people are fewer and fewer people aren't going on vacations anymore. And so I guess they're, we did. Yeah. Rich, my daughter felt the earthquake. Sparta, North Carolina had an earthquake. And she said, I got up and like we had one of her pictures on the wall was shaking. She goes, yes, fella, was like shaking. I said, really? I don't remember that. But anyway, this is how busy these guys are in pools because people are just not going on vacation anymore, which I find to be incredibly sad. I mean, look, I'm not a big traveling kind of guy. I've done enough traveling the last of my life, and I don't need any more. But I just find it sad. The American population. It's nuts that they think 9 to 10%. So basically, there's a large majority, it turns out, of Americans think, or at least a significant majority thinks that 10%, 9 to 10% of the population of America has died from the coronavirus. Yeah, right on, Jill. Pool, and I mean, we can use that sucker into probably October, at least with a spa or whatever it's called, a sauna spa thing. I've never had one before, so we'll see. But no, right on. In Indiana, probably not so much. But I mean, you think about it. The American population is so fearful of coronavirus, they literally think 9 to 10% of the population is dead, and because I just, we've freaking done lost our minds, and I this is what concerns me more than anything. I'll get into some other stuff here in just a second. I just gotta get off my chest. I did a video on it today, but I don't know how you change people's minds if they're that willing to be led by the nose and so much fear. I don't know. I don't know how you change people's minds because this is insane. And if you truly think that 10% of the population is dead, you either don't know how math works or you're living in your head so far, your head so far up your butt, you don't know which way's up. And I don't know what else I mean, it's crazy to me. I mean, literally, if you thought 10% of the population was dead from the coronavirus, I mean, and when I hear that, I said, well, no wonder why people are freaking so scared and so angry. Who was it? My man Dave Cullen was showing a video on some fat guy in England yelling at women. It's always funny. They always yell at women. Some women would yell at men, but most men say, whatever, Karen, go on, get out of here. And just shoo, like shoo fly. I find it interesting that big fat men are yelling at women. I find that it's actually sexist. It's actually it's aggressive stance that a big fat guy would probably not take towards a man because he's a coward. But anyways, yelling at this woman that she didn't have her mask on, and it's just a big fat guy. And I'm like, dude, you have more things to worry about the coronavirus. That's for sure. Big fat, fatty, fat. It friggin' pisses me off. It just pisses me off that these guys feel like they're part of the police force now, that they can police up people's behavior and force them to wear masks by literally intimidating. The brown shirts. They could all kiss my butt. That's all there is to it. You go up to people because you're so damn scared. And the thing is, that's funny is that they say, I'm doing it because I'm protecting you. Well, if you're protecting me and I don't have my mask on, why the hell do you care? You know what I'm saying? It's the whole thing's just freaking stupid. I'm sick of these. I'm sick of it. No other way around that. And it's just as sad. I mean, how many people are falling for this? I mean, think about it. 10% of the population is dead. And I was listening to my man Tony Heller today when I was taking Pablo for a poopy break. And Tony was saying that the Swedish newspaper in May was predicting like 300,000 deaths in Sweden by July because Sweden went the right way with the lockdown. And of course, that simply did not happen. And my thing is, one of these people can be held accountable. I mean, I don't know how you hold them accountable. I mean, I hold them accountable. I don't trust any of them. I don't trust any of them as far as I could kick them. But one of these people get held accountable. With all this fake prediction stuff, it's just fake. It's always negative, always negative. Sick of it, man. Pools all over my neighborhood, says Jill. It was my top one as a kid for sure. I still got to swim, but backyard pool have never come in all summer. Getting bent over in property tax in Illinois. Have been checking out homes in Tulsa. Unbelievable you can get for the money and low property tax. Right on, man. Yeah, so many countries won't let us vacation to them. Screw them. That's the way I look at it, Roy. They don't want us with our money. They don't have to get us. They don't have to. They don't. I mean, I say screw them all. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Sweden. I tell you, Sweden and Denmark. Who would have thought a right wing libertarian would say Sweden and Denmark hold the answers for us? And the crazy thing is, they got no coronavirus in New Zealand because they've locked down everything. You can't own guns in New Zealand. Basically, you can't go out. The police force can do whatever the hell they want. It's like King James, right? Is down there, and people say, oh, look, they have no coronavirus. And you're like, okay, so you're gonna do that for the next 50 years. At some point, you're gonna have to let people in, or you don't have to. I mean, you can be like North Korea. I mean, what the hell? At some point, you're going to have to open it up, and you don't have the herd immunity that we have now, or Sweden for sure has. And it's sad because you think you're protecting people, fools, but you're not. You're actually holding them out to deal with this because they're not getting immune to this stuff. It's not going away. Yeah, crazy. And I was listening today to Brett Weinstein and his wife Heather. Is it Heather Heyer? I always forget. And I love those guys. I'm a big fan of theirs. But the funny thing is they're so bombastic about the long-term effects of coronavirus on these anecdotal evidence that they know some guy. And it's funny. I just picked a tick off of Pablo this afternoon, and it reminded me, Lyme disease, but just tick bites. My brother had a tick infection last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, something like maybe 2 years ago, and he literally could not see out of his right eye. His right eye was like pink as like the freaking most dope smoking fool out there, complete pink eye, but it wasn't pink eye. People were afraid to associate because they thought he had pink eye. It's just horrible. And he says the biggest pain he had ever felt every single day, it felt like someone was stabbing him with a broken bottle every single day. And it was from a Lyme disease. He got a tick bite. And something else was that way. He said he could not stand up. He didn't have vertigo or whatever it's called. It was crazy. Now, my brother played high school football in Maine, but and he was a good player, middle linebacker. And one time on a kickoff return, he got hit and got knocked out. And he said that didn't hold anything to the pain that he felt from that tick bite, just in his eye. It's like someone stabbing me. Every morning he wake up, he said, I could not think, I could not do anything. And my brother's got 4 kids and stuff, and the issue is, you look at tick bites and Lyme disease in America, and it's going through the roof. I was just reading this earlier today. Let's see if I still have it on there. Yeah, it's there's like 70,000 or something like that. I can't remember, but there's a huge increase in tick bites. Now, some of it they're trying to attribute to global warming. Who knows? I think it's humidity, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's more deer population. I have no clue. But it could easily be. It could easily be a warming environment. I don't know. But facts are, tick bites and Lyme disease are going up. In fact, we have Shania Twain. She had it where it left her temporarily unable to sing. Someone named Avril Lavigne, April Lavigne, was bedridden for 5 months. Pro golfer Jimmy Walker revealed in April that he was battling Lyme disease and took a month off the PGA tournament. He said it felt awful, like I had the flu every other week, and he was taking 35 pills a day to treat his condition. So, I hate to say it there, Brett and Heather, but the long-term effects of all kinds of stuff are out there. You can't just, I don't know, things just weird to me. Yeah, Steve said he had 2 friends. He had 2 friends tested. Hold on a second. Roberto, they made me have to unmute your comment there. They wanted me to hold it for review. Weird, man. Ticks are nasty. We lost our dog because of Lyme. I tell you, that's interesting. Invest and grow. We had a dog that went not Pablo Stout, he went schizo, and that's 15 years ago. And I remember I had to hold in my arms while they put him down. It was kill me. It just killed me. The life just, oh man, I'm gonna start bawling thinking about it. I held him. He had no clue, and I was the only one he did not growl at. Men he was fine with. His women he would attack essentially, and he went schizo, and I wonder if he had Lyme disease. Sad. Hold on, sad. I'll never forget that. That sucked. No other way around. I just held him. They gave him the shot, and he was like, "Oh, dead. Oh, oh, oof." I'm gonna start crying thinking about that. A bigger threat to our way of life is our educational system. Yeah, man, I completely agree. Steve said he had two friends tested positive, then tested negative a few days later. Yep, I know we've heard that all over the place with false positives or false. I don't know what it is. Same pain I had when I had the shingles, eye poking bad. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it. April Levine, but they called it a real Levine. Roberto said, did you see ultra liberal Jennifer Lawrence sold her Manhattan apartment for a huge loss? That's funny. Why is she getting out of Manhattan? I wonder why. Oh, because Manhattan, I don't want to pay the taxes, even though I'm such a lib. Oh, because, well, I got to get out from COVID. Yeah, because these people are freaking, you can read them, freaking, jeez Louise. All right. I wasn't planning on traveling much in retirement, says Jill, so it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, no. I enjoy 1 or 2 times a year. Drove up to my cousin's 2.5 hours in July. Lots of fun. Yeah, there are people got results for positive tests but never even took them. And again, this you got to watch this video from Tony Heller today. It's gonna piss you off, man. They're showing, the media is showing like all these increases in deaths and stuff, and what is being attributed. If you actually look at the data on the hospital websites and the Department of Health and Education, or whatever it's called, Department of Health website, there is no increase in deaths. There is no increase in hospital beds. It's just they're using this increase in positives as this, oh my God, we're all going to die, when it's just because they're ramping up the test. And what they show is they make that seem like the hospital beds are being used up, the number of deaths are being, and then they show you this increase in deaths too. But you're like, there is no increase in deaths for that specific day. What it is that they think is that they're recalculating what the previous deaths were and putting on the date they recalculated. It's just such a scam, and yet we're falling for it left hook, line, and sinker. Is insane to me. I don't get it. I'm sitting there watching these people. Like, I just don't get it. It is weird to me. And we're still doing it. And now, like, this idea that the whole thing is insane. And I thought by now people would say, we're done with this. Not even done with it. It's crazy. All right. So, all right. Yeah, right on, John. We need to ban cars from other countries. Exactly. If you got to protect grandma. You want to protect grandma, right? So damn well she shouldn't be getting a car. Hell no. Especially when they're older. They lose their functionality of driving. Yeah, brainwashing, man, for sure. In our state, they only get positive test data. We never know how many people are negative or how many people don't even bother getting tests. And that's what they said about the Lyme disease thing. They're only reporting like 35,000, but they said how many more people have it that just they don't go to see. See, that's the issue, just like COVID-19. What do I think about using Johnson & Johnson's dividend stock instead of bonds to smooth the ride? Oof. Yeah, you don't use stocks to smooth the ride. No way, no how. Let's take a look at J&J here. Stocks don't smooth the ride. There's no such thing as a smooth. There's no such thing as a smooth stock. In fact, you can just see right there. That's 156 to 122. And that's just the last year. So that ain't a smooth ride, brother. That ain't a smooth ride. So nope, you don't use stocks to you don't. Not all of us are falling for it, Brian. Yeah, but we gotta admit the bulk are. And we are like and now I'm reading that even now the vaccines, if it comes out, more and more people are willing to take it. What's happening now is they're gonna say, just like the mask thing, they're going to say, if you don't take the vaccine, you're risking my life. You don't have to, but we're not going to allow you out in public property. And it just, you can see it's a mile away. And the pressure can be so immense to take the vaccine, get this little scrape on your fingernail and all this. I mean, it's going to be insane. They're going to do that. And it's going to be tough to resist. It will be. Hey, handsome, come here. Come here there. He just got a bath. Chloe gave him a bath to make sure we got no more ticks. Yeah. Is Kim Davis on? Look, Kim Davis, I'm kissing Pablo. Kim Davis. Kim Davis is a lady, or man, I'm not sure who it is, a man or a woman who hates Pablo. It's the weirdest thing. I said, man, she hates when I got Pablo on the TV. She goes, if I wanted dogs, I'd go to another YouTube channel. Might be my pleasure, man. All right, so Scott Adams is soft selling the vaccine. Oh no, Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, he's actually bought into that hook, line, and sinker. The sad thing is, yeah, Pablo, right? The sad thing is a lot of these guys, these older, like Glenn, look at him, Glenn Reynolds from Instapundit. He was nervous as all can be about coronavirus at first, and I'm telling you, a lot of these guys, I just thought they'd be smarter. And they allowed the nose of the camel in the door. And now the camel is freaking run around like a bull in a china shop, and you allow the nose of the camel in the door, and you'll never get him back out. And just that's, I'm looking at Glenn Reynolds as a smart guy, libertarian, but when it comes to this stuff, he is hook, line, and sinker in belief of vaccines. I guarantee, even though he's a libertarian, he'd be cool with mandating that if you don't get vaccines, you're risking other people, and thus you need to be basically put into the dungeon. All right, Deborah says, what tax bracket makes no sense to convert a Roth? All right, let's get this. I know, is that Pablo? Oh, look at that. Look at those teeth. Look at the chiclets. Oh, how much do we love? We are. You're the star of the show. You are. Yeah, so we had this tick right there. All right, so I want to go into some right capital here. So let's share a screen. And Deborah asked a good question. That's a good segue. Oh, hi, Pumpkin. Hi, Pumpkin. He's going nuts over there. Every time he takes a bath, he goes nuts. Oh, so I want to go into this. All right, so we got Lanny. No, you didn't. You're not barking at me. No, sirree, Bob. Yeah. Pablo looks like a gremlin. Oh, what happened? All right, hold on a second. Pablo just dropped something. There you go. All right. Pablo somehow dropped this sign that says every day is a gift into his Pablo's bed. All right, so we're going to go into Lanny. Is it Lanny or Lanny? Lanny, okay. Lanny and Maggie's TSP. This is not a real person, but I'm using information that a lady had sent to me. And I want to go over this with you too, for sure, because I thought it'd be interesting, because she's saying, should she do Roth conversions as well? Now, she's got a lot of money, these folks do. Just be advised. So they got lots of money. So, Deborah, you had asked about the tax bracket, so let's take a gander. So we're going to go into this. And now, Lanny had, let me make sure. Okay, good. Lanny has 430,000 in TSP. And we're going to go to VFI. Oh, come on, man. Jeez Louise. Right there. VFINX. All right. So 430,000 divided by 309.73. So Lanny's got 1,388 shares. All right. There we go. And of course, it's a taxable account. So, okay. Lanny's TSP. All right. Cool. All right, so that's Lanny. All right. Now, they each have a pension. All right, so let's see what we got here. We're going to get rid of all. Okay, good. Let's just get rid of this. And this is the Right Capital software, guys. So if you're familiar with it, that's great. If not, don't sweat it. We're going to, Lanny's pension is $28,000 a year. And I don't know if there's a survivor benefit. Let's say no survivor benefit. And that looks good, calendar year, and it will go into life only. Okay, cool. All right, and then we got Christine's got a what's her name here? What I say her name was? Maggie. Okay, Maggie. Maggie's got a pension as well. We got Maggie's pension. All right, and she's got a pension. What's okay? Yeah, 50. We'll say 45,000 a year. All right, so that's Maggie, and no survivor benefit. All right, cool, Good. So what we got here is we got, all right. So now we got Lanny's Social Security, and they do have Social Security based on full retirement benefit. That looks good. Maggie's Social Security based on full retirement. That looks good. Okay, cool. All right, so they made good money working for the, and they got TSPs. I don't know what kind of line of work they're in, but be it as it may. All right. So we're going to go into this and see what we're looking like from I want to make, how old are they here? We got one is, all right, yeah, that was good. So Maggie's 63 and Lanny's 63 as well. All right, sweet. So now let's take a look at what, and we're not even gonna do cash flows, right? We're just gonna look at taxes. That's all we're gonna do. So the first thing we're gonna do, let's just make sure we got, well, let's just say they spend, I don't know, $10,000 a month. We'll just use that for an example. Bear with me just a second here. We're gonna say expenses. Okay, let's do what's that for expenses? Living expense. All right, no. We want to say $10,000 a month for expenses, and I'm just using that for example. I mean, I'm literally just throwing it out there. So we're gonna say $10,000 a month for expenses. They might not have. Let's just make sure that works. That might be too much, actually. I bet it is. Let's ramp that back. We'll say let's say $6,000 a month for expenses here. So that's $72,000 a year, all encompassing. That's $72,000 a year, right? So that's include property taxes, includes everything. We're gonna say $72,000 a year in expenses, covers everything, health insurance or Medicare, all that. All right, there we go. Good. All right. So now again, in their profile is their total. Let's see. Hold on just a second. Let's just make sure they got 1.3 million. Okay, that's good. They got 1.3 million. They got income of pensions and Social Security. Good. All right, sweet. And they got expenses of 72,000 a year. That sounds pretty good to me. So the first thing we're gonna do is gonna look at cash flows, and I get my trusty thing here. So we're gonna look at see what this looks like here. All right, so they got. Oh, hold on. Let me delete this. Hold on just a second. I want to stop share. Hold on just a second. I got to go back to, we don't want to spend. Bear with me just a second here. All right, hold on a sec. Let's make sure we got this correct. Hold on just a second. I want to make sure this, go back to here. All right, sweet. All right, there we go. All right, good. So let's go back to Right Capital. And what I'm going to do, my friends, is I got to make sure we're not spending down their assets. They're actually reinvesting them, and I didn't do that. So I got to go back to sample, and this is what I got to do as a master file, so to speak, because I control the file. All right, so we're going to go here. We're going to go to settings right there. Okay, goal-based. You don't need to impute cash flow based. All right, sweet. All right, cool. All right, so now let's get back here. Good. All right, so now let's go back to good. All right, so let's bring this guy back up. We're gonna open client. All right, and then what we're gonna do is make sure these guys are here. They are. So let's go back to share screen. Boom. Go back to share screen. Hit this guy here. Let's hide that guy. All right, and so now let's go to retirement. We're gonna go to retirement cash flows. And let's see what we got. All right, sweet. All right, so we got these net flows here. Net flows are just surplus cash. All right, so they have income flows of 28,000 Social Security. Oh, that seems low. Hold on just a second. That seems low to me. So let's go back. Why are we getting Social Security so low? That doesn't seem, that seemed low to me. Let's go back to income. 3,000. All right, that looks good. Monthly full. Okay, that looks good. And oh yeah, okay, good. Yeah, all right, good. All right, so let's go back. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. When you're doing this right capital stuff, just I mean, sometimes if you forget to save it or something like that, you just got to go back and forth. Make sure it is all planned accordingly in terms of everything flowing together. The biggest thing I see is a lot of times, a lot of people have zeros under right capital as retirement planning success. And the reason is that their investments are all showing up as cash. It either didn't link over correctly or they did not add their investments properly. And if it's showing up as cash, you're only getting 0.5% rate of return. So in this case, they got their asset base is basically 80-20, 80% stocks, 20% bonds. You still got a 5.6% annual return with a 13.3% standard deviation. On that portfolio, that's about historically right for standard deviations, but it's well below historical norms for return. So just keep that in mind. Target allocation, I don't care. Target allocation doesn't mean anything. It's just I have to put something default. All right, so we go to retirement. And we're looking at 100% probability of success. So they're not run out of money. And again, that's in today's dollars. If we do inflated dollars, it's going to be like 5.5 million or something like that. Let's see. 6.2 million. So this isn't today. I like using today's dollars because it shows you what it is today as opposed to future in terms of adjusting for inflation, which I like. We have both of these guys live until 93. We can change that to whatever we want. But anyway, so what I want to do here, and we even have AUM fees on here. Let's get rid of that. Blink, zero that out too. All right. So basically what I want to show you here, let's go into taxes. All right. So in this case, they're not run out of money. They're going to have $4.2 million left to give away to the heirs if they have any at death. And if we go to cash flows, you're going to see how gruesome this is going to be. Because as they age, their tax payments. So let's click on tax payments. You can see the federal. Where do I have these guys living? Do I have them living in Georgia? Where do I have them living? I have them living in Maryland. All right. Let's just keep it there. That's fine. All right. So you can see we have them living in Maryland, and if we'll go to cash flows. We'll go to taxes. And what you're going to see is right here, their taxes go from basically 25,000 to 50,000. So let me see why you guys, let me ask you all a question. Why do you think the taxes went up from 25,000 to 50,000 in that year? Who wants to take a guess? Hold on just a second. Looks like who wants to take a guess why that happened? Why do the taxes go up that much in that year? Let me just get on my phone to see if I can't see this on the phone, because some reason it looks like it's stopped there, the chat. All right, so maybe RMD, right on, Nancy, you got it, RMD. Okay, yep, you got it, right on, perfect. So because of required minimum distributions, their taxes went up by twice. All right, so that's pretty ugly. Now look, Maryland isn't that big. I mean, look, $8,000 a lot of money, but everyone says, "Oh my goodness, Maryland and California and blah 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 blah." It's the feds, man. It's not the state. It's the feds. Where the state gets is in property taxes. That's a fact. So I mean, it's just not that. I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but it's just not that big a deal relative to the feds. All right. So now let's go back here. Hold on a second. We're gonna go to summary, and let's look at this guy here. I want to get a gauge of what this looks like from the mountain chart on the taxes. Look at that. Yahoo! 8.4% effective tax rate to the feds. Once RMDs kick in, they go 17.7, 18, 19, 20. Can I get a 21? Yes, I can. Even a 22. Woo! They're paying 26% tax rates when they're as they get older. All right, so let's take a look at a 1040, shall we? All right, so let's go to 2021 for a full year 1040. All right, so we're going to have a full year 1040. And yes, I am a geek when it comes to this stuff. I love this stuff. It's fun. I was working with some people today, and I'm going to show you some stuff. They live in Minnesota, and it's freaking ugly in Minnesota. So they got 53,000 in Social Security. of which 85% of that's subject to taxation. They took out 75,000, or they didn't. They actually have pensions of roughly 75,000. All right, so their total income here is a 53,000 plus the 75,000. So that's what 130,000 roughly of total income. Now their AGI is only 120. The AGI, because 10,000 of their Social Security is not subject to taxation, so the AGI is 120. They get standard deduction, 25,000 bucks. So they're paying $12,000 in tax on $130,000 of income. So we take our trusty calculator, 12 divided by 130. That's an effective tax rate of 9.2%. But watch as it goes further. So let's go to 2030 now. Look at now the RMDs are kicking in. So not only do they have the pension and the RMDs, so they got $185,000 of pension and RMDs, a little bit of other income as well, plus 66,000 of Social Security. So now they got AGI 252,000. Subtract their standard deduction, subtract their personal exemption. Now they got $223,000 of taxable income. And again, the tax rates are pre-Trump now. So they're paying $45,000 in tax. So let's take our trusty pen, write that down. 2030, 45K to the feds. All right. On 252 AGI. All right. So they're paying 42K in taxes on 252 AGI. Let's go to 2040, and trust me, it's going to get even worse here too. All right, so we're going 2040, and now what we see is we have lots of dividends and capital gains because they're not spending enough. They got all this excess income coming in and just going to a taxable account, which is paying them a little bit of dividends, a little bit of capital gains, but because it's growing so much, it's costing them taxes. But that's not the point. The point here is their pensions and their RMDs are 273,000 plus their Social Security. So now their AGI is 400,000 bucks. Subtract out 22,000 of standard deduction, 12,000 of personal exemption. Their taxable income is 363, $75,000 in taxes. So let me just write that down: 2040, 75K in tax. All right, on 400 AGI. Now, again, we inflate all this. The tax rates are being inflated too, by the way. All right, so not only is income being inflated and all that, but the tax code is also inflated, just FYI. The tax codes are not like Social Security. They do get inflated. All right, so here we got 373,000 of RMDs and pension money. They got 90,000 of Social Security. They got $600,000 of income. Now this is inflated. I just cannot stress this enough. It's inflated. But either way, let's go to 2050. They got 560. They got 125K taxes to the feds on 561 of taxable income. All right. So what's the method to my madness here? So we're going to go back to the estimate. We're going to say, look, at 20% federal taxes, we're getting up in the six figures right there. So even though 20% in of itself, hey, we're keeping it below the 22 or 25 percentile, it doesn't flip and matter, man. Because as the money grows, the taxes grow, even if the tax bracket remains the same. I hope this makes sense. Even though the tax bracket is the same, the 20% marginal effective tax rate, you're paying 20% on this bigger number. You see what I'm saying? So think about it. If we had $100,000 and we pay 20% in tax, our effective tax rate is 20%. If we have $1 million and we pay 20% effective tax rate, our actual dollar amount is $200,000. Does that make sense? So according to this chart, though, it's the same thing. It's still flat. It's still 20% effective tax rate. But according to the real dollars, it's significantly higher. Significantly. And John C. made a good point. So let's take a look about the IRMAA stuff. All right. So we're not done yet. Don't let the effective tax rate be the driver of your tax planning. You'd be looking at this almost like an investment advisor say, wow, what's these people's names? I forgot. Lanny and Madge. Oh, Maggie, something like that. Maggie. Lanny and Maggie, I'm only charging you 1%. Well, if you only have 100,000, that's $1,000 bucks. If you have $1 million, that's $10,000 bucks. It's still 1%. It's still a flat 1%. but it's on a growing amount of money, which means the actual dollars amount coming out are more. So we have a point that to consider. Let's go to the IRMAA stuff, the wonderful area of IRMAA, the income with respect to Medicare Adjustment Act or something. I can't remember what it's called. The income with respect to Medicare adjustment, I think is what it's called. So we're going to go to expenses. Now our expenses, remember, actually, hold on just a second. I got to show you something here. I got to go into, let's add something real quick. We're going to go to goals. Healthcare costs, got nothing. So let's go to detailed estimate. There we go. Detailed estimate. There we go. All right, sweet. So just we're going to reduce just the time being. We'll delete this in just a second because I want to compare two things, even Steven. But I want to show you guys something when it comes to Medicare payments. All right, so always remember, Medicare Part B is about in 2020 is about 100. It's about 145 a month, Medicare Part B. Part A is your HI, that's your hospital insurance. Hospital insurance is free. All right, once you retire, there's no premium for hospital insurance, all right, because you paid that as part of your OASDI HI. So OASDI, that's your old age survivor disability insurance. That's Social Security. OASDI is 6.2%. But you also pay 1.45% for HI, which is hospital insurance. So when you're on Medicare, your hospital insurance, Part A, is free because you already paid for it in theory. Part B is the doctor services. Part D is prescription drugs. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Part A, you don't pay anything once you're on Medicare. I mean, there's a tiny deductible, I think like $185, but I'm just not including that. So that's not an issue. It's Part B, which is your doctor's services. That's the big one there. All right. So now if you don't have a Medigap or a Medicare Advantage, i.e. a Part C, you could be on the hook for 20% of your Part B service cost. All right. Just keep that in mind. So most people get a Medigap, which I'm not going to get to here today, but most people do. All right. So watch now. So Part B and Part D are what we're concerned with. All right. So we're going to show you expenses. Now, our expenses are starting to grow pretty significantly. So they go from 83,000 to 121 to 127 to 150. What is going on here? Why is our expenses going up so much? And here's the reason why: healthcare, man. Healthcare started at 11,000 a year when we first got right here. When we first got on Medicare, we're using 63 as well. So healthcare, you can see Medicare right here is basically $500 a month per person. For Part B, Part D, and a good Medigap, that's probably in the high end, but some copays and stuff like that as well. So what's happening now is we got $500 a month. That's no big deal. Let's just look at old Maggie here. She got Part B, Part D, other, which is copays and things like that. And I'm just going to keep looking at Part B. So, $1,900, $2,000, $2,900. Part D is prescription drugs. Whoa. It went from 2,900 to 4,300. What the hell? 671 to 972. What the hell? Whoa. Now we're at the 5,720. Whoa. We're at $10,000. What is going on? My Medicare premiums doubled in 5 years. What the hell? Whoa. We're at 18,000. What is happening here, man? What is happening? Now I'm only increasing health insurance by 5.5% a year. So something else is happening here. Well, what is happening is that we have the IRMAA, the wonderful world of IRMAA, the Income with Respect to Medicare Adjustment Act, which essentially says the more money you make, the more you pay for your Medicare Part B and Part D. All right, to a quadrupling. So if you are in the highest tax bracket, it's actually not even the highest tax bracket. I think it's like 250. If you're married filing jointly and your AGI is 250, your Medicare premiums quadruple from for simplicity for my feeble mind, 150 times 4, that'd be $650 a month for Medicare Part B. 50 times 4 would be $200 a month for Medicare Part D. So instead of paying basically $200 a month, we're paying $800 a month for Medicare Part B and D. And I'm telling you right now, that's only going to get worse. Medicare is dead to rights. They can talk about Social Security all they want, but it's Medicare that's going to I'm just telling you right now. Medicare for all, it's free. You just show up. Oh, just look at me. I'm making people happy. I'm Bernie Sanders. the magic man from Happy Land. You know where that's coming from? Look at me, I'm making people happy. If anyone knows where that's coming from, you put it on there, because that's a classic TV line there. I'm Bernie Sanders. You get it for free. You get it for free, and you get it for free. Bernie Sanders and Oprah is crazy because it ain't free. Medicare is dying. There is no money for Medicare. State budgets, which is Medicaid, are dead to rights. All these people added. John Kasich can kiss my butt. All these people say, it's Jesus telling me I need to add people to Medicaid. There is no money for this stuff, man. There is no money for that. We can talk. Yeah, Simpsons, right, man? I'm the happy man from Happy Land. And then Homer shuts the door, and then he opens it back up, slams the door, Marge. He opens it back up and says, I was just being sarcastic. And Marge says, duh. Classic. That was when Simpsons was funny. Anyway, until they got all political, they went SJW on us. Why did Simpsons go SJW? Why does everybody go SJW? Why do you really think you're going to be the cool kid if you go SJW? You're just one of many millions of meek-minded people. Stop. Stop going SJW, please. You have no respect. No one cares if you're SJW because they know you're just doing it to virtue signal. Oh, it kills me. All right. So anyway, so what's happening here? You can say Medicare for all until you're blue in the face. This is my pet peeve about Medicare is that, look, I am complete in agreement that I wish there was some kind of thing so people before they're 65 had access to health care without it costing them their first son. I completely agree. Medicare for all is not the solution because there is no money. There is no money. State budgets are doomed. The reason the state budgets are doomed is because Medicaid is a freaking fraud. Medicare is a fraud. When I mean a fraud, I don't mean the things are fraud. The many people are abusing the systems in there. One of my pet peeves about hiding assets so you can qualify for Medicaid. Medicaid is for poor people. I find that to be, I don't like that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, there are people abusing Medicaid and Medicare as far as the eye can see. No one cares. And so what happens here is on top of that, more and more people are going into the system. Less and less people are paying taxes. It's all blown up in our face. So we can sit there all day long and say, put more people on Medicare. It ain't going to happen. Of course, when you have a big government solution, it's always rationing anyway. And you know for a fact what's going to happen. You can see this a mile away. Oh, you smoke, do you? Yeah, you need to take a back seat because you brought that on yourself. Oh, you're kind of heavy. You need to take a back seat because you brought that on yourself. Oh, you're elderly. You need to take a back seat because, well, you didn't bring that on yourself, but we got more important people to save. This is what happens in a healthcare run system from the government. Rationing comes, and the people who are, it's almost like public school. If you don't fit this small box, if you're too much on the left or too much on the right, not politically, but in terms of your ability to go along like a little freaking safe Susie, you're on the outs looking in, and you got no recourse. And the same thing's going to happen to healthcare for sure. And that's freaking frightening. So what I say, and I think who was it that proposed this? Was it my man Rand Paul? I think he did. I think Rand Paul's the one that said just give everybody a voucher, let them figure it out themselves. That's what I've always thought. Just give everybody a voucher. We can have a fascistic private-public partnership like we do in Medicare Advantage for sure. Make sure the insurance companies aren't screwing people. Make sure but make them fight over the options. Most people are happy with Medicare Advantage. Most people are. And so there's always horror stories. I mean, there's horror stories on MediShare, which is a Christian, health exchange thing. But at the end of the day, we need more options, not less. And if we go to Medicare for all, we're doomed. There's no other way around that. But and when you're in the left liberal, you don't have to deal with logic. You don't. You just got to get the votes to win. And as long as you get 50+1, you can do a lot of damage to many people. But you retain your power is great. All right, so let's go back into this on taxes. All right, so as we can see here, if we go to analysis, let's just take a gander, shall we? And what we're going to do, we're going to go to cash flows. No, some people are happy with Obamacare. I got no qualm with it, but I mean, it's the facts is that there's not that many opportunities for Obamacare in rural places because there's just not that many docs out there, and certainly not that many hospitals and people who want to provide you coverage because there's too much of a liability. There's too much of a liability, and that's why there's OBGYNs. They're like I remember 15 years ago in Western In West Virginia, there's few and far between. If you're pregnant, you came to Virginia because there wasn't any, because the risk of being sued out of existence by the trial lawyers. And it's just, and so if you're an OBGYN, there's no way you practice in West Virginia. You couldn't afford the liability coverage. You could not afford that. So they all practice in right there on the Shenandoah Valley border of Virginia. And if you're in West Virginia, you come down the hill, come to Virginia, because that was the only place you had some protection for being sued and whatnot. All right, so let's take a look at taxes. So we can see here, the taxes get pretty gruesome. All right, so we can even see come 2000, and yeah, we talked about that. So let's do some Roth conversions here. All right, so let's do Roth conversions. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to profile, and we're gonna go to income. And I should have boxes, yeah. So I got boxes for Maggie, and we're gonna say, oh, Maggie, speaking of Simpsons, right? We're gonna do 100,000 a year Roth conversions for her. We're just going to do it until that money runs out. All right, so we're going to do that until end of Maggie's plan, convert to Roth, and it's coming from her. Is it in an IRA? I think it's all right. So it's in an IRA, and let's take a gander what that looks like. Now, just FYI, for those of you who are using this, you don't need to be too specific. You can say $100,000, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it until she's dead. But what happens is once the money is exhausted, once there's no more money in this traditional IRA, it will stop automatically. It won't keep going if there's no money, because literally the software is pulling it from these accounts. All right, so let's take a look at the tax mountain graph here. First and foremost, I imagine it'll look quite a bit different. And it does. So we have a little bit more on the front end here. This is when RMDs kick in. A little bit less in the back end. So let's just take a look on details. We're going to look at the 1040 for 2030. Actually, before we do that, let's just make sure that it actually went to the Roth. All right, so let's go to retirement. Let's go to cash flows. Let's just make sure it actually went into the Roth accounts. Yeah, Roth. Okay, cool. So we got the Roth. 100 is going into the Roth. Okay, cool. Withdrawals from accounts. Additions to accounts right there, 100,000. Okay, cool. Good. Net cash flows. All right, sweet. So what's happening here? Oops, we want to go to, it's not RMDs. As proposed. Let's go to current. There we go. Hold on just a second. All right. So you got Ross. Maggie's Roth inherited IRA. Where is Maggie's IRA? Oh, right there. Okay, cool. There we go. Withdrawals from accounts right there. All right. So what's happening here? Net cash flows. All right. So now let's look at Larry's IRA. Didn't Larry have an IRA? Yeah, there's traditional. Oh, Larry had a 401k. Okay, gotcha. Okay, good. All right, sweet. All right, hold on just a second. All right, so we're adding that. It's coming up from the IRA. Okay, good. There's her IRA. And then in 11 years is zeroed out. All of Maggie's money is over to the Roth at that point, if that makes sense. All right, good. So withdrawals from accounts. So she's taking 100,000 and moving into the Roth each and every year. Additions to accounts. Where's the Roth in here, man? It's weird. It's not, I guess, net cash flows. Yeah, let's see. Roth. Okay. All right, cool. Net cash flows 100. Additions to accounts. Yep, $100,000. Okay. So let's go to profile. That looks good. So the Roth is being funded. We're going to go to the 1040. Nope, not profile. We want to go to retirement. And we're going to cash flows. And we're going to go to, we're going to go to taxes, excuse me. And we're going to go to 1040. All right, sweet. So here we go. So 1040 in 2030. So Maggie was doing 100,000 Roth conversions. So in this year, she's paying 2030. She's paying 56,000 in taxes, but before she's paying 45,000 56,000 in taxes on AGI of 261. AGI 261. All right, so she has a little bit more AGI. She has 10,000 more of AGI, but she's paying 11,000 more of taxes. All right, so let's keep going down here. We'll keep seeing what's going on. That's 2030. Let's go to 2040, and here she's paying. She only has 228,000 of AGI in 2040. 228, and she's paying 42,000 in taxes, where before she paid 75,000. All right, so that's a big deal. And we'll go to 2050, and here they're paying 64,000 in taxes on 324 of AGI, where before they're paying 125,000 in taxes. All right, so what's happening here, guys, is that it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what's going on. Is that they're paying a little bit more in taxes on the front end because they're doing the $100,000 Roth conversions. In fact, let's just go to the tax. Let me go to 2021 tax, 1040, 2021 right there. So here we got their pensions plus 100,000 Roth conversion plus Social Security. All right, so there's 220 is their AGI gross income. Their taxable income is 195, so it's cost them $34,000 in taxes. All right, so just kind of keep that in mind. $34,000 in taxes. If we go back to profile, and we go back to income, and we get rid of that Roth conversion. So remember, 34,000 in taxes in 2021. Go to taxes. Isn't this stuff fun? Don't you? Oh man, I love this stuff. 2021. Here they're paying $12,000 in tax. All right. So what's happening here? Let me just get out of the screen real quick. Is that even though they're going into a higher tax bracket and they're paying, in this case, basically three times as much taxes in 2021, they're going to do that. They're going to pay more taxes for the next 10 years. But on the back end, they're paying we're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands. So basically they're paying more tax on a lower amount and less tax on a higher amount in the future, if that makes sense. Now, it doesn't work like this all the time. I'm telling you, I've worked with many people. I said, I just don't think you should do it. And the reason for that is because they're not paying hardly anything on the front end. I mean, they're paying a pretty decent amount on the front end as it is. And that decent amount just kind of levels, and it just kind of it pretty much stays the same, if that makes sense. Situation dictates, but not all the time does it make sense to do this. In fact, I would say almost sometimes it doesn't, especially if you have a pension, but sometimes it does. You just got to look at the situation and say, look, how much are we going to save in the long run by doing Roth conversions? Well, in this case, look, we haven't done anything other than some basic stuff. But just because they're going into a 24, I don't even know if it might not be a 34. Hold on a sec. Let's see what the tax brackets are. I can't remember. Hold on a second. 2020 tax brackets. I can't remember what the tax brackets are, so let's take a gander to see what their marginal tax rate would be. Yeah, so they're going to be in a 24% tax bracket. Anything over 171 puts them in a 24%. So just because they're in a high tax, a 24% tax bracket, doesn't mean you should inherently eliminate the idea of doing Roth conversions. Not at all. I'm just telling you right now, they're going to save friggin' huge amounts of money on the back end. As witnessed by 2050, they're going to have $64,000 of tax if they just do 100,000 Roth conversions, where they would have had 125,000 in tax if they didn't. And then you got to think about too, when you're dead, the amount of money you're leaving to your heirs, if it's Roth, is tax-free. The amount of money you're leaving to your heirs if it's traditional is taxable to your heirs. And now your heirs can't stretch that out over their lifetime. They got to remove it within 10 years. And on top of that, going back to IRMAA, there's a good chance that the lower your income as you age, because Roth IRAs, the income comes out tax free. It doesn't go back to your 1040, which means it doesn't show up for IRMAA. The whole thing is just, it's amazing how beneficial Roth conversions can be, not will be, but can be. Hope that answers your questions, Deborah. That's a big deal. All right, so I want to talk a little bit. I want to go into. All right, hold on a second. Let me just see what kind of. All right, RMDs right there. Who was it? Yeah, I think Deborah. I'm 51, intend to retire at 55. I have a Roth IRA, which I've had for many years. I'm thinking about transfer to a new Roth. Will that affect my 5-year clock? No. Once your Roth is open, is the IRS that matters, not the custodian. What's going on? Great riffs. Yep, you guys got RMDs. Is 80-20 a bit risky for their age? In this case, it's just fake. It doesn't matter, Dick. I mean, at the end of the day, if they have the income from their pension to cover the bills, who cares? Yeah, huge fan of the software. Will Roth conversions from 401k cause my Medicare to increase due to the increase in income for the few years I rolled over? Yes, absolutely. The Roth conversions will increase your income, potentially subjecting your Medicare to IRMAA without question. Curious, would tax rates be inflated like the bands would change based on cost of living? So wouldn't the bands get higher? I'm not following you there, man. The bands? I'm not following. Oh, you're talking about the tax brackets, I guess. Yeah, the tax rates are inflated. Yes, absolutely. So if you're making 80,000 today and you're in the 12% tax bracket, and you're still making 80,000 20 years from now, you'll be in the 10% tax bracket, if that makes sense. So that's assuming the tax brackets stay where they are, but the tax brackets are absolutely inflated without question. My in-laws are using their RMDs to give us a tax-free gift. Man, I wonder if there's a better way than that. Tax-free to you, but not necessarily tax-free to them. There's better. I don't know. I don't know anything about what's going on there, but I don't have a problem with that. That doesn't. All right. So John C. Yeah, Irma talked about that. Income related to Medicare adjustment amount. There you go. Dan. When does it make sense to not carry Plan B and to go to private insurance? Well, you got to carry Plan B when you're on 65, and that's the issue. You have to. If you're on a company that offers you health insurance, you don't have to. But when you're 65 and older, you have to have Plan B. It's the law, man. Crazy. Why work so hard and give up so much of your life amassing such large sum of money only to spend the last few years trying to keep from paying taxes? Man, I don't challenge that at all. Yep, can't qualify for HSAs if your health insurance is not a high deductible. HSA is the secondary part of a HDHP, high deductible health plan. Yep, got to have a high deductible health plan. I think Obamacare has one, don't they? Is a Ponzi scheme. They take your Medicare payment and give it back as Social Security. Yep. I mean, look, people get all up in arms. Social Security is not a Ponzi scheme. It's completely. It's the ultimate Ponzi scheme. It's the ultimate Ponzi scheme. I mean, they're literally paying off previous enrollees with newcomers to it. You could not find a more relative example of a Ponzi scheme than Social Security. That's just a fact. Medicare, a little bit different because you're not actually getting income from it, but you are getting benefits. Medicare, I would offer some Ponzi schemes too, for sure. But Social Security is 100%. It's a Ponzi scheme. And I mean, people get really mad. Like, you can't call it a Ponzi scheme. It's literally what it is. Just because it wasn't done by Mr. Ponzi, it's still a Ponzi scheme. We're taking money from new entries to give to old entrants. And then you're going to pay off the new entrants you stole from, because of taxation is literally theft, by taking it from new entrants. I mean, that's you cannot make it more of a Ponzi scheme, but people really get mad on that. Yeah, the Simpsons episode on New York was priceless. Yeah, man. yeah, they won't let people have vouchers for school, much less medical. And now they want to close down charter schools because the the teachers unions in Los Angeles County, not only they want Medicare for all, a wealth tax, who knows whatever the hell indoctrination stuff is, and they want to get rid of charter schools because of COVID-19. Okay. Let's get an executive order to change this. Yeah. Yeah. Healthcare can run when you're, I mean, that's a fact. I had some folks here in rural Georgia. Healthcare is going to run them about $2,500 a month until they hit Medicare. That's, it's a fact. Now, if you can manage your money, your income in some degree, you can get the Obamacare premium credits, which are doggone valuable for sure if you qualify, which, I can't remember. I think it's 60, you have to have less income than 68,000 if you're married, and like 48,000 if you're single, something like that. But, you might be able to get some significant Obamacare credits for sure. Yeah, need to get married to increase your tax bans 100%. Yeah, I guess one could file bankruptcy if they take a chance to retire early and get hit with a huge bill. Off the record, I'm not saying do that. This is not saying bankruptcy and all this, but I'm telling you, man, you don't think the hospitals are political animals and they got these big bills they want you to pay, and yet they're writing off for their favored political entities? Trust me, it happens on both sides. How do you think Michelle Obama got that job in the hospital making $365,000 a year? This is back in 2003. It wasn't 2020 or something like that. Yeah, she got it because Obama was a state senator from Chicago. And they said, we'll sweat you by hiring your wife, and that way you'll be more kind to us when it comes time for budgeting. I mean, this happens, and it happens on both sides. I had a friend of mine, somewhat a friend, an acquaintance, let's say it that way, a colleague, who is very active in the Republican Party. His debt got waived by a hospital for which we carried debt with, didn't waive ours. And because he was a local elected guy. I'm not gonna say who, where, when, how, but I said, wait a second, man. We had similar issues, both kids in NICU. My daughter had a significant, what's called ventricular tachycardia. His daughter was a preemie. So my daughter, because she wasn't a preemie, was in there for a month, and she was what they call the big girl on campus because she was huge compared to the other preemies. We had $30,000 of debt with that hospital. He had $30,000 of debt. His got waived. Mine did not. Politics, man, politics. So if you are retiring early and you get hit with some significant hospital charges, I'm just telling you, I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing about nothing. I'm just saying at the end of the day, you got to take care of number one. The hospitals take care of number one, and that ain't you, man. You got to take care of number one. Now, you can't do that on student loans. So that's why if something like that were to happen, you'd certainly, I don't know how bankruptcy works. No clue. This is not an advisement, not saying anything. I'm just saying at the end of the day, you can't just discharge student loans in bankruptcy unless it's incredibly, you're up against it. But you can discharge credit cards, if you see where I'm going with that. So just keep in mind, I mean, if it comes down to it where you had to use it, I mean, hell, Trump used a system. I still support Trump. I mean, I wish he wouldn't have used bankruptcy, but he used the system. People use the system. Well, you didn't design the system. We just live it. And, got to do what you got to do, man. Yeah, exactly. No, right on. I could not agree more with that person. Said, I'm not saying don't buy insurance, but yeah, I still have, but I agree. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm just saying at the end of the day, if, the SHTF, you got to take care of yourself. And, the hospital, well, they'll have to figure stuff out, man. They got a lobbying arm that will dwarf your lobbying arm any day of the week. Just keep it that way. Is it better to convert now? 22%. Well, it's still 20%. That's the issue. That's the issue. I don't know if it's better to convert now because the simple facts are you always want to convert when the market's down, which is why I did probably 3 videos, if not 4 videos back in February, March saying convert because the market was down so much. And if you would have done that, let's say at $100,000 on February 13th, it fell to $65,000 on March 23rd, and you converted then, you're back up to $100,000. Well, you have basically $35,000 of tax-free. All right. If you would have converted at that time, you've only had to pay taxes on $65,000. So you're taxed on $65,000. Now it's $100,000, all tax-free. So if you were to convert 240,000 right now, what if the market fell 3 weeks from now? You can't unconvert this anymore. So you can't what's called recharacterize. So you're stuck. You're paying taxes on 240 where the market was way, way, way down. That's the risk you always take, though. I mean, that's so. I still have VTV, VTI, and VDIGX. Yeah, that's my 3 holdings without question. VTV, VTI, VDIGX. Yep. Right on, man. Pulverizers out. My goal is to retire at 55, get Obamacare subsidies, pay no Social Security tax on Social Security income, and pay that. Me too. And if I need to take a reverse mortgage at 62, I'm doing it. Exactly right. You take your Social Security, you got no other income. You got, taxable income, Roth IRAs. You literally look like you're poor and a pauper on the 1040. But when it comes to real income, you're not, because all that money you're spending, Roth IRAs, Social Security, all tax-free. Whew. All right, here's Melissa. All right, cool. Melissa says, looking to retire at 56. She's 51 now. Is there a reason to reduce tax-deferred contributions instead to fund the gap with cash? All right, all right, let me think this. All right, so Melissa says, is there a reason to reduce tax-deferred contributions to instead fund my cash taxable account? Why not just do the Roth 401k instead of the cash taxable account? I see where you're going with this. I think there's a significant reason. And I'll just share with you the people I was dealing with today. There's no getting around the tax man because everything's in deferred accounts. They've done exactly what they're supposed to do. Defer. Now they're in IRMAA. Now they're in high tax brackets. There's not much they can do. Their hands are cuffed, man. Hands are cuffed. And that's bad. You don't want your hands cuffed. So the way I look at it like this, I say, okay, I am not doing any deferred accounts, Melissa, and I'm making pretty good money. All right. So I'm saying I'm willing to pay 24 cents on the dollar in order to never have to pay on that money again, if that makes sense. That's just the way I look at it, because I say I like to have the money at the ready so I can do whatever I want. You know what I'm saying? I like to have the tax man behind me so that way I don't have to worry about that again. And it gives you a tax diversification that I think is worth it. Could I spreadsheet it? No, I bet I could not. I bet I could if I really want to, but I don't really want to. That stuff bores me when you go too deep. Like if you do this, I'm just saying, I don't care. The idea is, though, pre 59 and a half, it's nice to have some tax-free money, or not tax-free, some liquid money available to you that you can tap into without having to pay a penalty, and certainly without having to pay taxes too. I'm just telling you right now, especially going back to what my man, I forgot it was Quincy or my man Homer said, if you're going on Obamacare subsidies, you don't want to have to take big distributions of an IRA in order to pay the bills. That could disqualify you from Obamacare subsidies. So, yeah, I think there's lots of reasons to do that for sure. I tell you, don't forget, if you're just like my man Quincy says, if you can just live off cash, you're not paying any tax. It's no tax. Cash is return of principal. You're not making any interest on it, for heaven's sake. I get that, but you're just living off it. Your 1040 looks like it's blank. I mean, think about it. If you had $200,000 a year from a checking account, all right, I'm just using that for an example. And I'm not saying do that, but just for an example, you're living off $200,000 a year. What does your 1040 show? It shows nothing but goose eggs. There is no income, because there is no income to go on your 1040. The 1040, all it cares about is your taxable income. It doesn't care about your total income, your real income. It just cares about your taxable income. This is why people, when they look at the 1040s, they do all these academic stuff. You're like, oh my goodness, we're all dying from poverty. Friggin' idiots, man. The 1040 just shows you your taxable income. It does not show your income that you actually have to spend money to put food on the table and gas the car. It frustrates me to no end. I'm sitting there thinking, stop this, Jane, stop this crazy thing. Because it says at the end of the day, if you lived on Roth and Social Security and cash, you have no taxable income. I guarantee. Big fat goose egg. Goose egg. Roth, Social Security, and cash, nothing. So you look like you're freaking destitute. You look like you got no teeth. You got, a freaking barrel that you're using for clothes, and you live down in a van by the river, if you even can find a van. But that's simply not true. That means nothing. You might have living freaking large as possible. Yeah. All right. Any more research on? Yeah, I'm going to compare Indiana to Washington. Probably tomorrow, as a matter of fact, Quincy. I was going to do that, but then my man Louis said, "Can you do it at Virginia?" I said, "Yeah, I'll look at Virginia compared to Maine, because those are my two stomping grounds from where I rose up. Both in Virginia. Well, actually Maryland, but that's where I met my beautiful, and had 3 of my 4 in Virginia, in the Rockingham Memorial Hospital in Harrisonburg, Virginia." Let's see. The only person not confused more than Joe Biden is Michelle Obama. How dare you say anything negative about Michelle? You can't say anything negative about Michelle Obama. Jeez Louise, everybody. You can't say that. Hold on a second. I lost my. Hold on a sec. Uh-oh. Carl K says something. My friend Meg said, "Not cool, Carl K." Oh, Michelle. I'm not following that. I think I kind of am. Oh, I thought you said not more confused, like talking about mental capacity. And I said, I don't get that, but okay. I think, man, Carl, you don't want Meg on you. She's from Massachusetts. She'll smoke you. Because those ladies in Massachusetts, trust me, look, and I'm saying that true. The best thing about Massachusetts and northern New England is a lot of those guys, unless they're true, the Kennedy types, how you eat, like you eat like this, like you're from England. If you're a lady in Massachusetts, just a regular working person, you're not one of those like hoity-toity types going like, how you're supposed to eat with your foot, like you went to cotillion. I didn't even know what cotillion was until we moved to the South. And then there's something called cotillion where they teach you how to eat right. You know what I'm saying? I never went, but it's like you're not supposed to eat. You're not supposed to hold your fork like this and cut it like this. I can't remember how you're supposed to do it. But anyway, that's what I do. I just take my fork, I gram it, I go like this, cut. Then I go like this, like that. Easy. That's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to do it. I forgot how you're supposed to do it. But anyway, you're not supposed to eat with your fork this way. You're supposed to eat with your fork this way and just kind of dab it. But that's not what we do up in the Northeast. And I don't think that's what most people in the South do either. That's the thing. And so Meg, even though she's from Massachusetts, I guarantee she eats a lobster, just rips it out, just like that. That's what normal people do. It's only my brother is up in Bar Harbor this weekend. He went to Peaks Island and stuff. It was a lot of fun. He shared pictures with me in Maine. And he's like, the people in Bar Harbor are just these fancy schmancy, good time rock and roll people from New York City and Boston. They got a stick up their butts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't believe I've never. You see what I'm saying? And he's like, man, these people are just angry all the time. They hate waiting. They hate people not wearing masks. They hate kids running around. They're just angry. He goes, but then you go to like other places, Maine, Booth Bay Harbor and stuff, the tourists are fine. He goes, those hoity-toity, good time rock and roll, stick up their butts in mass and from Boston and New York City, but everybody else is fine. Even from upstate New York, even from other parts of Massachusetts, just those two areas, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like I did that video on the Boston Bruins guy, Matt Chmura, friggin' clown. He's like reporting on these workers because they weren't wearing masks because he's so scared for his children. Oh. He's like, it's just a freaking fool. I mean, I guarantee that guy goes up to Bar Harbor, Maine. It's like, I've never. He says, there's so many Trump stickers. I can't believe it. And I guarantee he eats his steak like this. Martha, pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Whereas most people just go boink, cut, nuts. Anyway. All right. Why do you prefer VTV over VYM? I don't even know what VYM is, or go even smaller, VOE or VBR. I just like TV because it's value stocks, David, and value has been underperforming for 10 years. And I grew up under the auspices or the premise that the three-factor portfolio, the low price to earnings ratio, low price to book, high dividend yields. That would be the three-factor for which Ken French and Eugene Fama, that's what Ken French and Eugene Fama built their models on for dimensional fund advisors. So DFA. I read a book that they had written. Maybe it was just one of those guys. I think both actually. In 1994, I forgot what it's called. The three-factor model. And I believe it. I believe it. I still believe it to this day. And until VTV, until I die, I will go to my grave thinking that things that are cheaper, that have higher potential because they're cheaper with better prices to earnings, better dividend yields, and lower price to books, I think those will outperform in the long run. History has shown that to be correct. If that continues on, I have no idea, but I will go to my grave thinking so. That's for sure. Some people would throw a fourth factor, small caps. If you look at Jeremy Siegel's book, Stocks of the Long Run, you take away basically, I think it was 1976 to 1983. There is no small cap premium. There just isn't any. So I like large caps. I think actually in this day and age of a fascistic economic model that we're living in, large companies have a leg up on small because it's just we're consolidating into larger and larger companies who do the bidding of the government. This is fascism part and parcel. And the smaller companies, I was reading today, they're going to charge hair washers, shampoo assistants, what they call in New York City, $500 fines if they don't take $1,000 of 1,000 hours of continuing ed on how to wash people's hair. That's called barrier to entry. There's nothing more than that we want to keep riffraff out of our business. And we do that by making it harder to become in our business. And that's happening more and more. The more regulations, the more political maneuvering, the more lobbying, the more smaller firms are unable to compete. And because of that, this is a takeover. And then you add COVID-19 in there as well, the mass stuff. Businesses who are operating on razor thin margins as it is, they're not going to be able to stay in business. And I literally think this is by design. I'm at that stage now that you cannot convince me this is not a big fat design by people who say, we want to incorporate control. I absolutely do believe that it was because of Brexit, the re-emergence of Brexit in December 15th of 2019 that got the globalists to really say, what can we do? And I don't think they deliberately put off COVID-19. I think they deliberately manipulated the data so they can change the narrative. I truly believe that. And I think it was. I also believe it was a Wuhan lab that went awry that led to COVID-19. I don't think it was a wet market with bats by any stretch of the imagination. So if you think that's crazy, unsubscribe, people. I don't care. That's my true beliefs. I think this has been manipulated. Don't let a crisis go to waste, said Rahm Emanuel. And a crisis, a manufacturing crisis, with some legitimacy to it. COVID-19 is not a hoax. I know people try to say, you guys think it's a hoax. I don't think it's a hoax. I just don't think it's as big of a deal as what you guys are making it seem. And Fauci himself, St. Fauci, used to say that. He used to say that until something happened. It's just like that. Something switched with the World Health Organization, Fauci, even freaking crazy Birx, the scarf lady. I don't know what happened. Something happened to make these people switch. And it was under Trump's watch. And the problem with Trump is he's a germaphobe. And because of that, I think he was suspect to the idea of germs killing everybody, because he's always been a germaphobe, which is shocking how he ran for president. But I think no one can, you could disagree with me, that's fine. And you could challenge that, I'd be open to it, but how else can you explain this shift just like that? And why, no, hold on a second. Pablo's got, no. That's yucky. Gotta be right back. Snake on the ground. All right. Pablo's getting stuff and he should not be getting in, weren't you, buddy? Yes, you were. All right, so let's keep going here. No, don't get in this trash can. Oh boy, you are a nut. How can you not like this nut? All right, JB, having more than 600,000 or 700,000 in a 401k is hard to handle the pace of the growth, which is taxable growth. Large Roth conversions are necessary to get growth run tax free. Yep. Have you heard of Sleepy Joe's plan eliminating 1031 exchanges? I have no problem with that in the least, Lord Hogarth. None whatsoever. I think 1031 exchanges are way overplayed for the vast amount of people. I'm sure there's some fancy schmancy good time rock and rollers who can benefit for sure. I think it's way overplayed. Obama had proposed some rules and regulations on these rolling grants, grant to retained annuity trust. And I don't think that ever came to fruition, which I didn't have any problem with even back then, even though Obama was proposing. And I'm not getting into what grants are, but they're pretty good estate planning technique. I don't have any problem with getting rid of 1031s. I really don't. If I was king for a day, I'd get rid of all charitable deductions, for heaven's sake. I've said this to the chagrin of many of my right-leaning people on this YouTube channel, but all this stuff is nuts. It's way too complex. No one knows, and the only people that benefit are the lobbyists and the people who got the big highfalutin attorneys and lawyers and accountants. The vast majority of people aren't even taking itemizations. They're taking basic standard deductions as it is. The vast majority of people, over 90% of the tax filing population is filing a standard deduction. So if the 10% have to pay a little bit more on the front end because they can't defer their capital gains, well, sucks to be them. They're still only deferring the capital gains. It's not like the capital gain is being replaced, is gone unless they do a step up in basis. And I don't even know how that works for 1031 on investment property. I presume they still get I don't know. But I got no qualm with that in the least. People get mad when I say this. I've had many right-wing subscribers leave me because I advocate a wealth tax. I think there should be a wealth tax. Absolutely. I think these guys, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, who are funding these ugly anti-American non-government organizations all over the world that do the bidding of cultural Marxists and they get a tax deduction to do that? Hell no. Screw that crap. I say, look, if you want to donate, more power to you, but you don't get to deduct it and be subsidized from us. And on top of that, we should have some of that to come and finance Social Security and shore up Medicare. I don't know why people say this is anti-conservative or anti-libertarian. I mean, I get anti-libertarian. If all taxation is theft, well, it is. Well, guess what? We're not getting away from taxes, man. FDR, that he was a political genius. He said, if we can get the taxes paid for without actually them cutting us a check, it will be like they don't even get the money to begin with. It's a genius political ploy, and we're never getting rid of taxes. It ain't ever happening. So we can stop taxation's theft. It is. So let's use the tax code to benefit America as opposed to everybody else overseas. Nuts. But people say, oh man, next thing you know, they're gonna be taxing grandma with her $1.5 million farm. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, there's already an estate tax, my friends. It's already there. They're not taxing grandma with a $1.5 million farm. They're not. Now, if you live in Minnesota, that's different. Because in Minnesota, there's only there's a $3 million estate tax exemption. That's it. I'll do a video on that in the next couple of days on Minnesota because that's ugly. That's ugly. The state tax is ugly in Minnesota because they will. If you have a farm that's over, just a farm alone is over $3 million is subject to a state tax. If you have a farm and life insurance, the life insurance is also subject to a state tax. Everyone thinks that's not true, and everybody's wrong. Life insurance is subject to a state tax. So I don't call him Sleepy Joe. He should be Sniffy Joe. Trump needs to get a better name. It's Sleepy. That doesn't, saying he's sleepy might actually be a benefit for Joe because they're saying we want to be more normal. We don't want the craziness that's been going on the last 4 years or so for people on the leaning voters say, I like sleepy. Sleepy is better than crazy. So, all right. Yeah, I don't, right on, Homer. Church is getting tax exemptions. And they're preaching from the pit. I know for a fact Left-wing churches are. We know for a fact NAACP is absolutely advocating politics. I mean, hell, NRA is all this stuff, but you don't get a deduction to donate to the NRA. I don't know if you do to NAACP, but I do know for a fact there are many churches that advocate may take political positions. They should not be funded for that. I mean, get subsidies for that. It just should not. And that's coming from a guy who's Christian Catholic. You know what I'm saying? And I got to tell you too, the history of churches being in cahoots with government is quite frightening, frankly. That's all there is to it. So I just say, no, and people say, oh, but the churches won't be able to operate because people will no longer donate. I'm sorry, but I don't remember seeing the Bible when it talks about donating says, just see how much it is pre-tax and after tax. I don't think that's part of the Great Commission or your giving or anything like that nature. I don't think tithing is contingent on, well, don't tithe if you don't get a tax deduction. I don't think that's the way it works. I don't. So if you were going to give $100,000, but now because you don't get that tax write-off, you're not going to give anything. Yeah, I don't think the big guy upstairs is saying, oh, yeah, no, I get it. Let those people starve. And that's not the way it should work. I don't think that works. Few decades international was outperforming stocks. Yep, I agree, man. International, I don't trust international as far as I could kick them. I don't even trust half the corporations in America, but I still have 100% in domestic because they do invest and trade in with international markets, much as to my chagrin, but I won't invest in anything internationally anymore. You don't know how Vanguard has an overexposure to China. I find that to be despicable, frankly. A lot of these guys are pushing these international indices and international are pushing for more and more companies that are green focused and stuff, which is the murder of poor people in India and things of that nature for sure. And I find that to be despicable. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans fall into that as well. If we just went green, if we just went renewable, we'd all be happy. Look at me, I'm happy. Hold on a second. This will be fun. All right. Anybody know what this is? I always like doing this. Let's see. So what would this be right here? See if anyone knows. You can see. Sassy says it's called trying to save the planet for a solar panel. Exactly. This is solar photovoltaic panel, a photovoltaic panel. It converts the sun's energy into electricity. All right, this is a 200 watt right here, a 15% efficiency, 15% efficiency. All right, this is a pretty common place nowadays. You could buy these, I think it's cost $150. You probably get it for $100 now. All right. So what does this do? All right, so if we had, this can, in theory, and this is not even a full meter. This is about 2/3 of a meter square. So I'm not going to get all the numbers of solar and how they work. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty damning, frankly, once you know how this works. And wind is even worse. All right, so a solar panel, how many solar photovoltaic panels would it take to create one of those from scratch? I mean, how many? And look, you don't need to answer because you don't know. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. The reason for that is because people think if we go renewable, oh my goodness, if we go renewable, we don't ever have to have fossil fuels again. And that's just the most foolhardy thing you've ever heard in your life. Because how many, I just want to know, no more fossil fuels, no nuclear. How many solar panels? You can use wind if you want. You can even use hydro. You can use biomass. But we're just for solar panels. How many good old fashioned 200 watt, 15% efficiency solar panels? And if you want to go up, and I'm telling you, man, we can argue till we're blue in the face about efficiency solar panels coming to the market. We can use 20. If you want to go with 25, that's fine. Show me where they're priced at. And let's just use that as get out of the lab, my friends, and get into reality. How many of these guys would it take to produce one of these guys from scratch? When I say scratch, that means you have nothing. You've given up all your fossil fuels, you've given up all your nuclear, and you have nothing but solar photovoltaic panels. How many would it take? An unlimited amount. We have no idea. And that's just one. That's just one. And so the idea that these green energy people are going to make us all safe for the future descendants, I'm a dumbass, this guy says, you're never going 100% renewable. It ain't going to happen. It's silly to even think that. The idea is in of itself, it's ignorant, and ignorant doesn't mean it's stupid. It means you don't know, because you don't know how solar works. You just don't. Wind is even worse. Wind is the worst. It's evil. It's completely corrupt. The people who are proposing wind are getting rich off the freaking taxpayer. It's evil, evil, evil. The University of Maine is now starting to engage in wind farming, and I'm just sitting there thinking, I'll never forget. I'll never, ever, ever forget driving down to Dartmouth, New Hampshire, and looking over the, I don't know what the mountains were, not the White Mountains, and it's this beautiful. I took a picture on my phone. This lake, these beautiful green mountains. And I'll never forget, I said, you know what that needs? This whole beautiful, you know what it needs on the ridge up there? It needs some wind panel. It needs some wind turbines. That would be great. No one in the history of mankind has ever sat there and looked at the nature's beauty and said, you know what we need? We need wind turbines. That would really add to the beauty of nature. It's evil stuff, man. It's evil. That's why I don't touch any of that with 10-foot pole. Now, with that said, I guarantee in my mutual funds that were ETFs that I have, there's some of that crap going around out there. It's all virtue signaling crap, and I hate it because people die because of this nonsense, and that's just a fact. And it bothers me to no end. But at the end of the day, I got to get growth in my portfolio, and I will sacrifice a little bit of my soul for growth. That's what I got to do, and that's what we keep doing. It's horrible. Yeah, all new house builds need solar to power LED lighting. No power, you still have lights. Well, you can get lights easy with LEDs. I mean, look, solar for small. I mean, hell, I got all kinds of LED solar powered lights all through this house. Yeah, lights is fine. Hell, my God, dude, friggin' LED lights are fantastic, and you can make them solar all day long. That's not going to be enough to power everything you need to build one of these. This is just a simple 200 watt, 15% efficiency, not even a full meter square solar panel. It's just, we need better battery. Yeah, we've been operating on lead acid batteries for many moons. I know they're trying to get better batteries, but man alive, it seems like I tell you, don't bet against lead acid. I'm telling you right now. But even if you could have better storage of batteries, like let's just say the Tesla wall works great. Let's just pretend that does. Again, how many does it take to build one solar panel from scratch? You have nothing. I need a solar panel. All I got is solar panels to power what I need to go down the earth, to mine the silicon, to go everywhere I need to put this together, all that. How many solar panels does it take? Let me give you an example. So my pool, because we just got this pool. All right. So here's an example. There's a pump. It's a 3/4 of a horsepower pump. All right. So a horsepower is about 750 watts, basically. So every horsepower is about 750 watts. If you let a 1 horsepower pump run all day, you have 750 watts on any given second. You times that 750 by 24, it's going to be 18,000 watts, or what's that, divided by 1,000? That's 18 kilowatt hours, essentially, over the course of a day. All right, so you think about that, 750 watts on any given second. And again, if you times that by 24, that's about 18 kilowatt hours you're using on a 3/4 horsepower pump. That's just all pumping water back and forth. And that's actually on a full horsepower. I'm talking 3/4, so it's going to be about 75% of that. So we're talking about 13 to 14 kilowatt hours. All right, so that's just a 3/4 horsepower horsepower pump. This guy right here, it won't do that. That guy right there won't do that, because when you factor in 200 watts at 15% efficiency, We got on average in Atlanta, we get about 170 watts on any given, on average in Atlanta. So you have 170 watts. You take that times 24. Time 170 watts is what we get on average in Atlanta. That's 170 times 24. So we're getting basically 4 kilowatts, kilowatt hours a day from the sun just shining on this a meter of space on the earth, if that makes sense. So so the sun shines this beautiful energy down. That's about 4 kilowatt hours when you take it, not because it's basically it's going to be 170 watts for every meter squared in Atlanta. You take that 170 watts, you times that by 24, you're getting 4 kilowatt hours in Atlanta for every square meter of space. Well, this guy right here is 200 watts max, but it's only 15% efficiency. So we're not getting all that 4 kilowatt hours at all. We're not. We're getting essentially what you do is you take your 170 watts on average, you times that by 0.15. Long story short, on that guy right there is going to give you about 1.4 kilowatt hours, because that's not a full meter square either, by the way. So that's going to give you about 1.4 kilowatt hours in this one solar panel, right? Every day. And 1.4 kilowatt hours won't even run a 3/4 of a horsepower pump for all day. It just won't. I need more. I'm gonna need more solar panels just for a 3/4 horsepower pump, which only takes 750 watts. That's it. Now you yourself as a human being, it takes you about you're using about 100 watts. I mean, just right now you are using about 100 watts of energy just to be alive. So you can see if I'm using 100 kilowatts right now relative to my solar panel, just as a human being, the energy you're consuming is more than that right there could provide for me. All right, so let's keep going. What we got here? I want to go real quick. I do want to go some of the 4% rule because this is going to be my book, and I want to share this with you guys because I think this is cool. Then we'll get out of here for the night. Don't be a sucker on solar. I'm telling you, and look. People use solar. I know people do. I get it. I'm 100%. I would love to be 100, off grid. It sounds like a romance and all that. Most solar is grid tied, which means unless you have a pretty significant transfer switch, you're not, if the grid goes down, your solar panels are down too, unless you have a transfer switch. And I think that's becoming more prevalent, which is thankfully pretty good. At some point I will get solar panels, not probably in this house. South is that way. Wait, that's west. South is that way. The sun's right there. So the sun is the south facing is basically right there. So we'd probably be able to get decent coverage south facing that way. Rooftop solar is the worst. You want it on your ground. You want it up above. And I get it. People can absolutely. I don't deny that people can use solar to run a lot of their lives. I don't deny that in the least. But the bulk of people can't. That's a fact. And on top of that, the bulk of people don't have the land. They don't have the space in which to do it. And so all these people say, I have this, I have that. Man, it's a fantasy for the vast majority of Americans. It just is. And I just wish people would get off the solar. The efficiency is increasing every day. The battery operations are increasing every day. I mean, it's slow grind. And we have this beautiful thing called fossil fuels right there. Never mind nuclear. If you hate CO2, you cannot be against nuclear if you hate CO2. Nuclear is the most wonderful thing to use for sure. And the idea that you want to deprive human beings of their ability to use that for energy is I think, bordering on evil, frankly. And especially when you're sitting there touting solar, wind. All the while you're getting on an airplane. Now, I'll stop that for now. But I just, one of my most pet peeves. Solar, CO2 is evil. Evil, I tell you. Oh, what are you doing? I'm flying to Paris for my vacation. Oh, okay. Because I can guarantee you that plane is not battery packed. I guarantee there's no battery bank on that plane to fly you overseas. I guarantee. You're spewing a hell of a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere by being on that plane. In fact, you going to France is spewing almost as much CO2 just for that one trip as my family does, and just using our normal electrical that we have in this house, which is a pretty large house, right? for the whole year. So you take that one trip, uses almost as much, spews almost as much CO2 in the atmosphere as what my family does with our coal-backed energy consumption that we use. It's actually, in this case, electricity consumption that we use right here for the whole year. Yeah. So if you truly believe CO2 is evil, and you truly believe only people like Mr. Burns like CO2, you can't fly. Can't be flying and be green. Those two things are mutually exclusive. But Josh, yeah, I get it. I've heard them all. All right, so let's go in this, and then we'll end up here tonight. So I want to show you something here. We're going to go to my results that is coming on my book. I mean, it's coming, my friends. It's coming. Barbell results with the Wellington. All right, so this is awesome. Yeah, I heard the PGA Championship, the ratings are gonna be through the roof, man. It's gonna be through the roof. I heard that. So that's pretty cool. I don't know anything about golf, don't care about it at all, but I'm glad to see the NBA getting stuck in the mud with ratings, and it looks like the NHL is too. And it's, you know, you go woke, you go broke, boys, and I got no qualm with that. So I'm very happy to see the NBA, NHL, baseball ratings get smacked while the PGA is tearing it up. That's pretty cool. Carl says Obama wants to nominate Greta for the next Nobel Peace Prize just so he won't be considered the most inept receiver of it in history. Oh, man. Jeez. I didn't talk about the payroll tax holiday. I actually am not a fan of it, frankly. Look, I know what Trump's doing. The payroll tax is a good move for stimulating the economy for sure. I get what he's doing. I hate executive orders. I hate it. The idea that this is going to do much of anything is. How about this, Trump? Why don't you take it? Why don't you start saying open up the damn economy, and why don't we start going in and saying defund the universities? How about that? Because a lot of the stuff that comes from the universities, and not all of it, there's lots of good people in universities, but a lot of the stuff is crap, man. And it's leading to people to make bad decisions with their lives. And so I certainly wish Trump would wave the flag of opposed to some silly payroll tax holiday. Look, it's going to put money in people's pocket. It's good. It's not a long-term fix. And on top of that, Social Security is, you can't just keep doing this. This is what they've been doing, payroll tax. Every time they do that, it hurts Social Security, which means it hurts me. And I just think, well, instead of all that, why don't we realize that COVID-19 isn't going to kill you? It does kill some people. The flu kills some people. Driving to work kills some people. Heart disease kills a hell of a lot of people. Having low immune systems kills a lot of people. Stress will kill you because it makes your immune system tax more. Don't know why we don't talk about this, but it's like my man JP Sears says, you know, what the government's telling us is 4 ways to keep safe: masks, social distancing, stay at home, and sanitize your hands. Those 4 things. And then he opens up his fridge and he tells his wife, because we got too many health foods in here. We need more hand sanitizers. And his wife says, well, can't we have both? And JP says, no, they haven't said we could have both. So until we have both, we need hand sanitizers. They haven't said anything about healthy foods. He said, hey, it's okay to drink, freaking Coke with all the sugar and eat Cheetos and watch football 24 hours a day and all that. It's okay as long as you do 4 things: hand sanitize, wear a mask, stay inside, and social distance, and then you're fine. Nuts. Don't worry about getting a good night's sleep. It's okay. Binge on Netflix until 2 a.m, wake up at 6. It's okay. Watch the media. It's okay. But don't you dare talk about freaking eating health foods or making your immune system better, because no. That's not the control we want. All right, so I want to share with you. This right here is awesome, and I just if we do 4%, so I'm taking 4% a year, and I'm all in Wellington, and I'm having basically 4 years of cash on the side. So I'm taking $100,000, I'm having 4 years cash on the side. So in this case, that 4% would be 16,000 bucks. So in this case, I have 84,000 in Wellington, 16,000 in cash. And if the market is down, I don't touch the Wellington. I only touch my cash account until my cash runs out. So in 1930, 1931, and 1932, Wellington fell 21, 27, and 2% respectively, if that makes sense. 1937, it fell again. So basically by 1938, I no longer have any cash, and I'm just taking out Wellington. I hope that makes sense. So I hear 4% with inflation. I'm adjusting with inflation. In 1930, we fell 21, 27, and 2% consecutively, 1930, 1931, 1932. Adjusting with inflation, and we survived 30 years at 4%. We have 84,000 in Wellington, 16,000 cash. We survived 30 years. Interesting. 5% adjusted with inflation. We also survived 30 years. So now we have 80,000 in Wellington, 20,000 in cash. We still survived 30 years. Interesting, huh? 5.5% adjusted with inflation. We did not survive 1930, but we did survive 1931. We'll go down to the other ones here in just a second. 6% adjusted with inflation. We did not survive 1930, but we did survive 1931. All right, now check this out. Fixed. Now, the reason I'm doing fixed, people say, fixed, because the first 10 years from basically 1930 to 1940, the amount of money we needed actually went down in value because of deflation. So deflation in the 30s meant if we took 4,000 a year out in the first year and 4,000 a year out in the second year and 4,000 a year out in the third year, we're taking more money than we need, because what we needed at 4,000 became 3,200, 3,100, and something like that until 1940, where it came back to 4,000. So if we took a fixed amount, given that we had deflation, you can see we survived them all. Even at 6% a year, we survived every single concept except in 1930. So think about it. At 6%, we have 24,000 in cash and 76,000 in Wellington. We're taking 6,000 a year out, fixed. The first 10 years, the amount we need is actually dropping because of deflation. It's significant too, by the way. And yet we still had enough money in 1930, the onset of the worst market we've ever had for 3 straight years, for 19 years. If we retired in 1931, we had money. We retired in 1966, we had money. 1973, we had money. 2000, we had money. So the fixed amount, you took a higher amount fixed on the front end, it actually did better than adjusting with inflation. And there's a method to my madness here, because that gave me the thing to say the reverse required minimum distributions. I said, if we started with 6,000, even if we only needed 4,000 to spend, but let's just say we started with 6 because the beginning of our retirement is when we're going to party like it's 1999. We want to spend. And even if inflation does rear its ugly head later, well, we don't really care that much because we're 85 years old sitting on the front porch anyway. You see what I'm saying? So even though our spending has gone down from a pure inflationary perspective, well, our actual consumption will go down anyway, most likely, because all the numbers show that. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, Consumer Expenditure Survey, University of Michigan, HHS, Health and Human Services, many studies show that spending goes down as people age. Consumption does. My man, Uneducated Economist, had a good video today, which I thought was right on. He said, and it's completely true, stimulus doesn't do much for older people. And I completely agree with that, because older people don't consume. They just don't consume that much. You got to stimulate with the lower earners, the poorer people. This is what Trump did. Anyone making less than $100,000, we're going to give them a stimulus check, i.e. a payroll tax holiday, which is good. You can't stimulate with higher earning people because they don't consume as much. They save. Lower earners consume, they spend. All right. So if you want to stimulate the economy, you need them to consume. But you also got to stimulate with people who are going to spend those too. And from an age perspective, that's not older people. That's going to be younger people. So if you say, look, so at the end, you can't discriminate on age. That's the issue. You can't say, well, if you're over 60, we're not going to give you a stimulus check, but they're not even on payroll tax anyway. So it doesn't matter for them anyhow. So the payroll tax holiday is a wonderful, probably the best way to stimulate the economy, but that's going to hurt Social Security. That's why I don't like it. And we keep going back. Let's do a payroll tax holiday. I'm like, man, this isn't good. If you want to stimulate the economy, you do a payroll tax holiday. That's absolutely right. That's the way to do it. Because older people are already on Social Security, they're not paying payroll tax. You do it for people making it less than $100,000. 100%. I agree with that 100% for stimulating the economy, but it's not good for Social Security. It's just not. And then they keep going back to it as if this is magic well we can just keep dipping into and the money will just flow out. All right, so check this out. Well, the reason I want to point this out to you is right here, the difference right here. This is a 5.5% adjusted with inflation. This lasted 26 years. And if you would have retired 1 year later, it would have been fine. Even at 6%, it lasted 22 years at 6% adjusted with inflation. If you were retired 1 year later, you would have had money for the rest of your life. That 1 year made all the difference. Now, 7%, no, didn't work. All right, so 7%, not quite. But even there, 7% adjusted with inflation lasted 18 years, 20 years, 14, 12, not good. All right, but the point about that, how long are you likely to live? Are you really likely to live 30 years in retirement? No, you're not. We know that because the life expectancy for people who are 65 today is about 17 years, I think, if you're a woman, off the top of my head, and 13 years if you're a man. That's the average life you can expect. So if you're 65 today, the average person who's a woman is going to live till she's 82. Now, some people live beyond that. Some people are going to die before that. So the likelihood of you living 30 years in retirement is not very high. It's just not. If you're a man, it's even less. So we use these 30-year numbers as if that's the cat's meow. But I'm sitting there thinking, I don't mind using that for retirement planning. But let's be realistic here. Not very many people are going to live 30 years. So if your retirement plan is in fact based on contingent on you living 30 years and you're going to run out of money, you're 28. That doesn't concern me the least because you're likely not to be around. And by the way, you're not going to run out of money. You still have Social Security. You haven't run out of money. You've run out of liquid assets. I did a video on that yesterday, so check that video. All right, so let's go down again to fixed. Even here, 7% fixed. In 1931, you had 7% fixed, you lasted 23 years. In 1966, at 7% fixed, you lasted 20 years. I mean, it's just, there's lots of different ways to skin this cat. All right, so let's keep, I want to show you though too. All right, so that's what made me pretty comfortable because I'm sitting there thinking, even in 1966, the 4% rule didn't last. But the problem is the 4% rule is a safe withdrawal rate. Safe, it's not safe anymore. I'm just telling you right now. And that means that is the maximum you could take based on historical norms, never to run out of money. Okay, whip-de-flipped and do. But the average return you could take, the average amount you could take is like 6%. So if you're only taking 4, that means you're leaving 50% on the table on average, and you're not likely to live 30 years anyway. So if we just focus on 4%, that means we're not consuming enough on the front end. We're leaving too much at the back because if you happen to retire in 1931 as opposed to 1930, and you only took 4% out, you could have taken 5.5. You could have taken 6% out. But you happen to say, oh no, the safe withdrawal rate. And then you're leaving money on the table. You're flying coach so your kids can fly first class. Don't freaking do that. It drives me crazy. All right. Now, the problem with 1966 and 1973 is the high inflation times. And this is the issue. So here in 1930, the markets got crushed. But the sequence of return risk didn't kill us. It wasn't that big of a deal in 1930. 1966 and 1973, it wasn't even bad markets. 1966, the market's down 10. Whoop-de-doo. 1973 was pretty bad. 20 is the S. I don't off the top of my head. I can't remember Wellington, but I think it's 23. I can't remember, but it wasn't as bad as the S&P 500. But it wasn't the sequence of return risks that haunted us. It was the inflation. The inflation from 1966 to the mid 80s, it killed us, man. It killed retirees. You could not you could not ask for a worse scenario for sure than the 70s. And I blame Richard Nixon and LBJ. Absolutely. I don't even blame Carter. I blame Nixon and Lyndon Baines Johnson. Bad presidents, probably the two worst presidents combined for sure. So those are the inflationary years which destroyed retirement portfolios. They really, really did. Even in the 4% in 1966 with Wellington, it did not last at 30, but it lasted 29 years. So I'd still give that a go for sure. All right, but check this out. Let's say we say, forget even the, do I have my result? Hold on just a second. Right here. Nope, I don't. Where is my results? Hold on just a second. All right, right here. I'll run this for just a second. Let's say we have reverse RMDs. It's not quite an RMD, but we're going to take 12% the first year, 11.8, 11.6, 11.4, or 10% the first year, 9.8, 9.6, 9.4, or 8% the first year. You see what I'm saying? Let's see, do we ever run out of money? And the answer is no. And taking Wellington at reverse RMDs, if we retired in 1930, we never ran out of money. We had money left 30 years later. We had $44,000 left still. All right. If we had 5%, I don't want to get that right. I just did that. But anyway, go back to 1931. We did not run out of money at the reverse RMDs. Even taking 12% at the beginning, we still had 44,000 left in 1930, 66,000 left in 1931. We still took 114,000 out total distributions in Wellington in 1930, and we averaged $3,192 a year out in 1930. Now, the reason that's important is because we're comparing that to the 5% adjustment for inflation. So if we took a reverse RMD of 12% to start, we took 114,000 total distributions out. If we did a 5% adjustment with inflation, we ran out of money in year 29. That's still a win. We took 166,000 out. So we're able to take out 42,000 more. We had 5,755 a year left is what we took out, 5,755, and we had nothing left. All right. Now the drawback here is, guess what? The bulk of this numbers, the first 15 years, we took out more with the reverse RMDs than we did with the 5% a year adjusted for inflation. It's the last 15 years with the 5% a year adjusted with inflation. We took out a lot more, but those are the last 15 years of your retirement. That's not most likely when you're wanting to spend the money. I hope that makes sense. So essentially what we're doing is we're front loading our retirement. We're saying, look, we're going to spend more on the front end, knowing full well that we'll have less to spend on the back, but at least we never ran out of money. And on top of that, if we adjusted with inflation, we might have still run out of money. We took out more on an annual basis. I get that, but most of that more was on the back end of retirement when we might not be around to enjoy it, and we might be too frail to enjoy it anyway. If we go to the 4% rule, we did not run out of money. We averaged $4,677, and we left $150,000. But we only took out $140,000. That's it. So we only took out $26,000 more than we did with the reverse RMD. And we left $150,000 on the table, which is money we could have spent to enjoy. I just don't think that's a good trade-off. I really, really don't. Now, the ultimate reverse RMD in my numbers is about the 10%. You start with 10%, you reduce it by 20 basis points each year, so 9.8, 9.6, and so on and so on. And you can see here, we took out $3,000 more. We took out an average of $39.21 on average than we did on the other one. That doesn't seem right, but I have to double check that. But either way, we had $85,000 left, and that gave us our best bang for a buck. When I ran these numbers on all these scenarios, the 10% reverse RMD seemed to be the best strategy there was. So the point about the 4% rule, I just want to show you, is that when you start just looking at the 4% rule, and that's done now. You can't even look at that anymore. It's over, because that's based on a 10-year treasury that's paying 4% and 5%. Those days are long gone. what are the 10-year treasuries doing right now? The 10-year treasury is like 51 basis points. It's 0.56. So the 10-year treasury is paying I don't even know what that is. Freaking 1/20th of no, I think it's even less than that, but well, whatever. It's paying 56 basis points. So basically 1/2 of 1%. The 4% rule is concocted when the 10-year treasury is paying about 4 and 5%. Not even anywhere near that. So anyway, with the 10-year treasury, and then of course stocks are who knows what stocks going to do. Anyway, so the 10% reverse RMD seems to be the place to go in my opinion, for sure, because you never ran out of money. So if running out of money is your concern, the reverse RMD never did. It never ran out of money. 1966 never ran out of money. 1973 never ran out of money. 1931 never ran out of money. 1930 never ran out of money. 2000, even though we only got 20 years, never ran out of money. And I'll do a video specific on this here tomorrow, because I think this is, I can't tell you how stoked I am on this, because this is the way to do it. You want to spend on the front end of your retirement. If you don't want to run out of money and you want to spend on the front end of retirement, the reverse RMDs are the way to go. Absolutely. There's no other way around that, because they never ran out of money in any of these scenarios. And inherently they won't. The reason they won't is because you're taking a percentage out of a declining portfolio. That's what's happening. So, I mean, you can take 10% out every single year, as long as you keep it's that 10% as opposed to a fixed amount. You got $100,000, you take 10%. You got $90,000 next year, you take 10%. You got $81,000 next year, you take 10%. You got $72,800 next year. You see what I'm saying? By the time you're down to $10,000, you take 10%. You got you still got $9,000 in next year. As long as you take out a percentage and not a fixed dollar amount, you'll never run out of money. It's just that simple. So anyway, that's what I wanted to get into. That's my book is coming, man. If I could only, I don't have my book up here. I spend probably 2 hours every morning writing it, and I love it and I hate it, because every time I write a paragraph, I'm like, not a paragraph. Every time I do something, like, I got to do this, I got to do that. But if my man Daniel is still on board here, he's been a huge help for the spreadsheets, because my spreadsheets were good, but man alive, it was time consuming. And my man Daniel put together these spreadsheets. It's like, click, 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 done. Oh, it's so much better. So much better. It's going to give me the ability to write a book on the S&P 500. The drawback about Wellington, my friends, is Wellington is so heavy on bonds. I just don't know if it's still going to have the same staying power as it did. I just don't know. Inflation killed Wellington, because bonds get killed in inflation, but also low interest rates. And just an FYI, when I'm using the barbell approach, I am using no interest rate at all, because I want to mimic current scenarios. So I'm not, if you got 20,000 sitting in cash, that 20,000 is not earning any interest for you at all. But anyway, inflation is a killer of bonds. Inflation is the killer of bonds. So 1966 through basically 1980s, the S&P 500 smoked the Wellington in terms of retirement planning, because it did not get killed as much as Wellington did because of inflation. But 1930s, when deflation was the cause of the day, freaking Wellington kicked butt, because deflation is the bonds love deflation. Bonds grab deflation and give it a big fat French kiss. Mwah! Give it a big fat Pablo coronavirus kiss. Mwah! That's what bonds do to deflation. So then the question you have to answer, are we going to hyperinflation like the 70s? And it wasn't really hyper, is high inflation. It certainly wasn't hyper. Or are we going into low inflation Japan-like? That's where I would think you'd have to make a decision. It's easy to say we're going into hyperinflation. I don't think the evidence shows that, though. I just don't. But it's easy to say that. Now, we will be going if we get a socialistic, Biden in there. Again, Biden doesn't know who he is. So it's not Biden. It's going to be whoever is pulling the strings. That would be inflationary for sure, because they eliminate competition, price and wage controls. That leads to inflation. It's not the printing press. It's the freaking government that does it with socialism and getting rid of making price controls. And that would be a concern for sure. But as we sit here today with the Trumps are in office, inflation is not the thing I'm concerned with. It's definitely Japan style. Low growth, low interest rates, and that's not good. So anyway, all right, my friends, I appreciate y'all being here. Again, we've got merch. You want to support the show? Merch is always helpful. You can see it in the bottom there. Much obliged for you, my subscriber. Got 3%. 3 people give me thumbs down. They don't like my take on solar. You get, I tell you, you think the COVID Karens are religious. The solar people, they freaking, oh my goodness, they worship the ground of solar energy. It's crazy to me. It's actually kind of frightening, actually, how enthusiastic these people, and even if you tell them the truth, they don't care. That's why you don't argue with the solar religious people, because you'll never win them over. You argue with the people who are duly noting the debate, but are in the quiet of the background, who have a propensity to think that solar is the cat's meow because it sounds great. The sun's giving us all this free energy. If we convert it to electricity through photovoltaic, we can all just live like we are. And it's simply not going to happen. It'll never happen. And when you show them how it truly works, which is how I got converted on this, they'll get converted too. And then they'll become advocates to say, look, I like solar. I think solar is great for what it's trying to do. It's not going to power an economy. It's just not. I don't like wind. I'll just be perfectly blunt with that. I do like hydro, but you're not going to be able to create hydro out of nothing. I mean, my goodness, there's only so much hydro that can be consumed or created. You just can't. Biomass, okay, biomass I don't have a qualm with. It's silly because you're using old growth forests from North Carolina, moving them to the UK. They're sitting there in this landfill and they're using that as biomass to say we are green as they cut old growth forests down from North Carolina. But it is green. I mean, you can rebuild trees, that's for sure, replant them and whatnot, but it's not quite the same as what the Greens would have us believe. Nuclear is the way to go. I like fossil fuels. At some point, fossil fuels will run out. I get that, but it won't be for a long, long time. So I'm very comfortable in saying, let's just go fossil fuels until we get the batteries. Once we get big fat batteries, that's great, but it ain't happening anytime soon. I know people say it's gonna. I'm telling you, I've heard this story many moons. Lead acid batteries will go back a long time, and they're still the number one thing. And I tell you, man, it's just don't hold your breath on that. So the 3 people give me thumbs down are definitely the solar accolades, whatever it is. I subscribe to this guy. I didn't realize I subscribed to him. Wind Energy guy. It just sickens me every email I get. Like, dude, you've got to know that you're lying to these people. You've got to know that. And yet the guy still, he persists. All right, my friends, we'll see you. Subscribe star folks, we'll see you at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. I might do another live stream before this because I enjoy it. And YouTube seems to, I mean, hell, I've got a lot more traction the last couple of weeks because I've been doing live streams. It seems like, I don't know why, but I actually enjoy it. YouTube seems to appreciate it. But so just check on my YouTube channel on occasion. I do videos every day for you that are new here, a bunch of videos on average every day. So just keep that in mind. So show up. You're not gonna get a notification, but if you're a Subscribe Star member, I will send you the link on the Subscribe Star email list. So we'll see you Wednesday at 7:30. Everybody else, we'll see you next time I do a live stream, or next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks. God bless. See ya.